We are, yep, we're live. Okay. So today we have another amazing guest for you guys. Marc Mesel, I hope I said that right, joins us to discuss Bitcoin, the trillion-dollar market capital potential, altcoin trading, and just general insights. Marc, how are you?
Very good, Luke. A pleasure meeting you. I also discovered your video some time ago, and I found your title of your YouTube channel very interesting, like "Yes for Motivation." Yeah, I really liked it. Is that? Did you start a channel for crypto, or was it started for something else originally?
It's a good question. Yeah, basically, well, how I started doing that was I started it talking about entrepreneurial stuff. So that was like going to mix. So I was basically just going with the flow and sort of talking about a bit of tech as well. So then Bitcoin came along. I did a few Bitcoin videos, and I realized people like love like Bitcoin. Like the videos rank much higher when you talk about Bitcoin. It's really popular, and
Yeah.
Here I am, right? And I just didn't change. I didn't change the name. I just made it like a brand, and now it's growing.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
and like with you, I mean, how did you get into
Yeah.
Bitcoin and start your channel as well? Because you've got like a great channel. Your insights are awesome as well. I remember your video when you were in Disneyland talking about like the
Yeah.
cryptocurrency, all the surges. So yeah, it was awesome.
Yes. Yeah. Just one more thing. Is that a year ago you started with Yes for Motivation or more?
I had the channel. I set the channel up years ago, but I didn't really start doing it until like a year ago properly, doing what I'm doing now. But it's been the channel. I set it up like years ago, just for a bit of fun, like, and it just here we are now. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's the same for me. I started a YouTube channel in 2009 together with my blog at the time about investing. But actually, my YouTube was on the side. I was mostly writing articles. And so it's only in 2013, in the middle of 2013, when Bitcoin was $100, that I really started producing a lot of YouTube videos, and I also stopped with my blog then because I figured that's not the future anymore, blogs, but YouTube is, and I can get my message much more easily out that way. And also before I had taken basically also a break from just sharing stuff because it wasn't going well with my investments. And when I discovered Bitcoin in 2012, I also wasn't sharing much about it. I was afraid to share stuff about it because it was a very controversial investment, and actually you had also legal risks. So I wanted to like not share much about that. But then when it went well for me with Bitcoin, investing at $13, and it went up to 255 beginning of 2013, then corrected to 55 and around $100. Then I said, okay, I'm gonna start sharing a lot about Bitcoin. Because that's really the future. So that's when I really started producing a lot of videos, and they're all still there.
Yeah. And I've left the link below to your channel as well for people, so people after this can look and check out your videos and your channel and what you're all about as well. That's really good. You got it at a nice price. Like, I mean, I think I bought my first Bitcoin. I've known about Bitcoin since like 2012, 2013. I learned about it from like an IT guy at like a networking event over here in Bristol. But I didn't really start buying my first little Satoshis, shall I say, until it was around $300. So yeah. So it's been a good journey so far.
But that was pretty early too. So was it after the collapse then, from 1,150 to $160 and then back to 300, or was it on the way down or on the way up that you bought that?
It was just as in late 2015 when the bear market, Bitcoin was coming out of the bear market and was about to start the big bull market. So
perfect timing, huh?
Exactly. And I was looking at the charts, and I was into like sort of digital marketing and web design and stuff, and I was looking, and that's what led me to it in a way, because it's all like tech based anyway. And I saw that chart, and I was like, this chart is looking kind of interesting. So I thought, I'm gonna start learning about the blockchain, just the basics, and boom, here we are, right?
Well, for me, I had the same entry point just one bubble before, because Bitcoin, I heard about it when it was already in 2010 the first time, 2011, also a few times. I always rejected it, but I knew the price had gone up to $30, has been correcting a lot, and when I like opened up for it, then also I saw the chart, and it showed me like from 30 it corrected to 3, and I was back at $10. And so for me it was like, okay, actually this is a very good entry point, because probably the bear market is over now, and this, if there's another bubble, it's going to go much higher than 255. No, sorry, than $30, and now it's out at 10. So I mean, that's this huge potential. Huh? So at the same entry point, just one bubble before, you know.
Yeah, man, all good, and that's the thing. It's all good. I was going to ask you as well. What do you think of the current market now, and especially compared to how it was? Because I remember when I was like learning about Bitcoin, and when I used to read about Bitcoin back in the day and stuff, and it's changed so much. It's exploded into its own self-sustainable ecosystem. I mean, what do you think of the current market at the moment?
Yeah, I've changed my mind on the whole situation, because I was very bearish already at $2,800. I thought, no, this is going to be the peak, and altcoins indeed went up a lot, but Bitcoin probably not going to deliver this time, so the bear market is near. But yeah, I changed my mind on that, and I think I was well, it's proven I was wrong, because we're now at $7,000. So I think, well, I was right about, there was a bear market. It was only in altcoins, and so my move was, I sold my altcoins for Bitcoin and immediately for fiat, because I didn't trust Bitcoin to go up more. So I went to fiat for the most part, and indeed altcoins since then, since 3 months, 4 months, haven't done anything in fiat. But they have also not corrected in fiat. They are still the same price. Whereas in the meantime, Bitcoin has done times 2, times 3. So I would have been much better to, instead of moving to fiat, I should have moved my altcoin gains into Bitcoin, and I would be sitting on gold today. But that's not the case. But still, for me, I think today it's an opportunity to buy back into those altcoins, because although altcoins have not corrected in fiat much on average, it's still a serious bear market in the crypto world that we have seen the past 3-4 months. Many people are crying because people are comparing themselves not with fiat but with Bitcoin, and it is a very sad story from that perspective. Yeah, so I think the opportunity is there. Of course, if you have sitting on Bitcoin, then it's a great opportunity, because they are very cheap versus Bitcoin, many alts, I think. But even if you're sitting on fiat, I think you have a second chance here to get into this bull market, and that's the big the difference in opinion I have with many people right now, and I could be totally wrong, but I think we have another big leg up for altcoins over the next few months. But I could be totally wrong, but it could be after Bitcoin corrects here, altcoin corrects also, and we get a 90% correction of altcoins, not in Bitcoin value, but in fiat value. That's possible. And that would be a disaster then. If you are now investing heavily into altcoins, that's the big risk here. But I think I've thought this from the start, from this bull market, basically thinking it more and more in 2014, 2015, actually, you saw that actually Bitcoin wasn't leading anymore. It was altcoins that were leading the bull market. Ethereum, the first one, going up much more than Bitcoin. And this was new. This had not happened in previous Bitcoin bubbles. It was always Bitcoin first and then the alts. But in this bubble, that was not the case. And Ethereum, it was clear because they brought something else. They brought something, a lot of innovation. But then later what happened was that Bitcoin also started to fail to just deliver the same thing as it has been delivering in the past, which is just a simple payment platform with cheap transactions and a limited supply of coins. But the price started to go up, and then I conclude, okay, not only are altcoins leading this bull market, but Bitcoin is going to fail to continue to grow as much as it did in the past, because it's failing to deliver what it delivered in the past. And I've seen this since the start when I entered Bitcoin in 2012. Like, for example, you had Satoshi Dice then, a popular website, a gambling website. And suddenly the amount of transactions went up a lot for Bitcoin. I thought, well, wow, that's great. But then you had some voices in the Bitcoin community, and some of them are very highly ranked, that said Satoshi Dice is spamming Bitcoin network. And for me, that was totally insane. Like, what? Like, what? Spamming? Yeah, because their logic is like, yeah, you know, Bitcoin, the amount of transactions is a limited supply, and if they're gonna use it for gambling transactions, then you can't use it for other transactions. So that's their logic. But for me, that was totally like insane. Like, like, come on, the future is here, that it needs to carry a lot more transactions than just some gambling website. And so if it can't deal with a gambling website, well, it's not the future of money. And so my perspective since the start, it has been like, these kind of people I can't follow their logic. I don't agree with their logic. And what we've seen is that these people have started leading Bitcoin. They have taken over the lead of Bitcoin. People that think like this. And so I think this is the biggest story in the crypto world. It's a situation with Bitcoin Core, the split off now with Bitcoin Cash, and you have another split off soon with Bitcoin Cycle Tweaks. This is the biggest story and the biggest opportunity also, I think.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, how many people made bank with Bitcoin Cash and all these splits? I mean, and then we have this SegWit to export coming up, which a lot of people don't like. I mean, it's like a backdoor deal that happened, and to me, like, a backdoor meeting and a backdoor kind of deal doesn't represent a decentralized system at all. I mean, it doesn't show that. But I understand that in any industry, we're going to get businesses that kind of operate in that industry and thrive, and some businesses are going to thrive more than others. And then we're going to have businesses, and those businesses are more than, well, you know, they're allowed, they can meet up and talk about things, talk about business. That's always going to happen. That's just human nature, right? But it's amazing how this whole space has just like changed in the last year, let alone 4 years. I mean, what about with altcoins? Everyone, I mean, like you said, altcoins are quite cheap at the moment. They've kind of maybe suffered from all these hard forks. But when Bitcoin eventually corrects, whenever the hell that is, I mean, God knows when, you know, it could happen tonight, it could happen tomorrow, it could happen next week. This is Bitcoin, for crying out loud. If Bitcoin crashes, it's going to take all the altcoins with it, you know, like a big crash, big market correction. Wouldn't that present a more valuable opportunity for altcoins? If all the altcoins, like we see like a big fucking bloodbath, could that be even bigger opportunity? So then we have bargain Bitcoins and bargain altcoins, right? That could be a possible scenario.
Yeah, indeed, and that's what I have been expecting since for the time from when Bitcoin around 2,800 and altcoins had gone up and had won like a lot of market share from only 20% and 80% Bitcoin went to like basically 65% altcoins and only 35-40% Bitcoin. So that was a huge surge in valuation. But I thought like, okay, we're gonna see a real correction here, like we've seen in the past. It's gonna take at least 6 months, shopping off 90%, and actually it could happen now. Indeed, there's certainly a risk if you're invested in these markets. But I think that that the momentum is too strong, and so well, it's been a very slow bubble for Bitcoin. If you look at how high it has gone compared to previous bubbles, just look at the logarithmic chart. You see that going up in the beginning very high, and then you see a very long, and then you see here a little point, and that's where we are. So in 2030 we're like up, and then it went, and now we're here somewhere. So what's missing here? Well, a huge Bitcoin bubble is missing here. We haven't seen that yet. Will we see it? I'm not sure, because there's so many problems in Bitcoin. But we could see, if you then look at the total bubbles, altcoins included, it's about a similar chart. It doesn't change that much, that chart, the logarithmic chart. So what we're missing a huge crypto bubble yet. It can go a lot higher from here, and I think that's a much bigger risk, that you're being left behind, than that you lose value. I mean, that's my opinion now, and it was different a month ago. I just, like, I was only 25% exposed to crypto, 75% fiat, so that was my opinion. But now I scaled it up to 66% crypto and only 34% fiat, because I think right now the chances are higher that we're going to go up a lot in fiat value for most investments right now, especially alts. Only Bitcoin, I think, right now is the less interesting investment, but also the a very interesting investment right now, because I think they will end this bubble. This bubble will end in a big altcoin boom, and what's happening right now is that we're getting a big Bitcoin boom, and that I don't think can be the end of this bubble.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, because I think last year, I think 2016, although Bitcoin performed really, really well, it performed brilliantly. It was an investor's dream. I think Ethereum was the best performing asset or commodity, however people choose to label it, last year in 2016. And I know, like, this year alone already, Ripple has outperformed 99% of stocks on the traditional markets. And that's incredible. I mean, this space and like you said, I mean, there's so much room for more growth. And it's like, do you think, I mean, and this goes on perfectly to the next question, do you think we could see like a 1 trillion market cap by next year? I mean, do you think that's possible?
Yeah, those are the moves indeed that I think will happen. We're now at 200 billion, so I think close to 1 trillion we can see in a couple of months, or we can have a couple of months sideways movement, and then it can happen. But these things go very, very quickly. It goes faster and faster, typically in a bubble. The last, like we went from from basically 3 billion, the low in 2015, January 2015, 3 billion, the total market cap. We went to, what was it, 30 billion at the start of 2017. So it took 2 years to do times 10 from the low. But now we're not at the end of the year, we're at 200 billion. So probably, we did times 10 again in less than a year, or almost. So, but yeah, the next 10 folding will probably not take a year, but maybe only a couple of months. That's typical for a parabolic bubble. And for me, it feels like I thought like, okay, wow, I see the masses now coming in clearly. People, friends that weren't interested in crypto now all investing in crypto, buying their first coins. And for me, or news channels, big news channels talking about crypto. So all these things are typical for the peak of a bubble. And for me, these were indicators that, okay, time to sell. But what we've seen the past 3 months is that well, Bitcoin went up a lot, alts went sideways in fiat value. So I think since altcoins need to end this bubble, in my opinion, the odds are the highest for that. We get another altcoin, at least another altcoin surge. And that's usually, those are the strongest ones. And so that's what I'm betting on right now. That 66% crypto is for the most part alts. It's only like 5 or 10%, maybe 10 to 15, maybe Bitcoin. All the rest is alts. And Bitcoin Cash, I talk, it's not really an alt, but for now I put that there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, in the graph, right? I mean, you probably know the graph better than anyone. The graph of like adoption. What stage in adoption are we now? Do you reckon we're still in the very, very early bird stage, or are we in now the early mainstream adoption, where the average person who may not be as tech savvy or great with maths and money and trading, are they starting to get into it? You know, your average Joe blogs, right? Are they starting to get into this now? Because like you, people are coming to me, family, friends. They're like, "Oh, Bitcoin! I heard about Bitcoin on the news. Oh, wow, Bitcoin!" And it's like, wow, like people I never expected to know about this so soon are now knowing about it. I mean, where are we on the adoption stage? Are we in the early days still, or is it time for is it mainstream people coming into this now?
Yeah, that's my impression also. It's been a while that I looked at these charts, so I can't really specify the exact, but it feels to me also early mass adoption, that we have entered that. And that's why I'm more afraid of another bubble than of another 90% correction right now, because the amount of capital is huge. Huge. Yeah? So all these hedge funds or the CMA just announced okay, but that's $0 right now are in Bitcoin via CMA, and $0 are in Bitcoin via hedge funds because they haven't started yet. But they are all considering it, and with their own capital, they have, of course, invested before they announce the news that they will invest with their company. They buy first. So the private capital of these money managers has been invested, but the capital that they manage has not been invested at all. So that's gonna happen. The risk always with these kind of new technologies is it doesn't catch on. And so that's the risk, especially for crypto, since the real utility is all, I agree with you, very, very low. Who's using, even Bitcoin is going down in real utility. Like I used to pay with Bitcoin a lot. I don't do that anymore, but I also don't pay with the competition right now. I just pay with fiat again. So I think the real utility of these cryptocurrencies is extremely low, but that is really of no importance. The question is this getting like a traction or not? And it's always first via speculation that new technologies or new lands, like America at the time. Of course, you can't do anything with those lands. There's still Indians on them. But the speculation will always start first, like, oh, what can we do with all that land? And so they start buying that land for pennies and then selling it for huge fortunes without a human being there already is. So that's typical. First, the value goes up a lot via speculation, and this is what happens now. And indeed, the masses are entering that stage, not to use it, but to speculate on it. And so that the amount of capital that's coming in is huge. So I'm mostly afraid of another bubble here, and so it's very painful to lose money, but it's equally painful to miss an opportunity that you were so close in catching. So you have to find a balance in that. Like, how will I feel if this thing goes times 10 is a very important question to ask always, but also how will I feel if it is cut by 10? I ask those questions, both of them right now, and so that's why I decide 66 fiat, sorry, crypto.
Yeah, that's good advice, man. And you know what? It's that driving pain where people missed out on 10p Bitcoin or 10 cents Bitcoin. That's what's driving a lot of this fear of missing out with these altcoins, because people don't want to miss the train again. I mean, even with Ethereum. I mean, this time last year, Ethereum, I think it was tanking. It was like $6-7. So, and now we're looking. I mean, Ethereum reached $400 freaking, and it has so much upside potential, and people just don't want to miss that. And like you said, missing an opportunity is probably worse than losing your money, because at least you know you tried, right? I mean, at least you know you got in there, you made an effort. But to see that opportunity, that train leave, where you know you could have made potentially life-changing money, and you just didn't. I mean, 100 quid back in like 2009, 2010 on Bitcoin. I mean, you'd be laughing right now, literally, like laughing all the way to your crypto wallet. So yeah, that's really, really good advice. You know, you have to balance that. And again, perfect for the next question. Do you see any blockchains, or I just call them all blockchains, or digital assets as well, that are taking your fancy? I mean, is any that you think have great potential?
I'm happy to answer that. Very happy. But I want to say something more about the previous question also. Like the fact that Bitcoin went up the past 2-3 months. And I expected a bear market, but it didn't happen. Bitcoin went up. Well, that lowers the risk a lot to invest in altcoins today, because, well, the bubble is not over. And since Bitcoin has so many issues, and since, well, capital always enters first via Bitcoin, of course, that means that what happened the past 2-3 months is that a lot of new capital entered Bitcoin. Well, what's that capital gonna do? Like before, it's gonna flow over into the alts, and at the same rate as before, because Bitcoin has still big problems. It's $10 per transaction now. It's totally ridiculous. It's the moment the people start using Bitcoin, they invested a ton, but now it's like, yeah, okay, it's expensive, and okay, these alts, they start to, they have the taste, and they start diversifying into alts. So I think they also the risk is much lower now to invest in alts than 3 months ago. 3 months ago, they were just went up a lot. It could have been the end of the bull market. But no, now we know it wasn't the end. Bitcoin has gone up a lot in the meantime. Alts indeed have corrected, as is expected with every time Bitcoin goes up a lot. So I think the risk is a lot lower to invest today in alts. And then indeed the question is, what alts? And their valuation is super important. Always as an investor, you have to ask yourself, okay, what's the value of this company or currency? How high is this valued in the market? And what's the potential value? And what's the real adoption here? Of course, that's almost zero for all coins, but it's very important to look at that, or the potential real adoption. So for me, and of course, there's much personal preference in it. You have so many choices. It's like with girls, so many choices, but you can't have them all. You have to focus on a few to have results. So it's the same here. And you have to take those that attract you, and that's a personal thing also. Some girls that your friends like, you say, what the fuck? And some girls you like, your friends say, oh my God, come on, man. And it's the same with these alts, and that's so beautiful. You have so many choices today, and that's, for me, very positive. Like, I watched some videos of you, and you mentioned that, yeah, it's a total mess. It's a total circus, the crypto world, and that's true. It's a total Wild West. But that's typical for a new market. Exactly. And indeed, a lot of scammers. You have that. That's typical for a new market. But that's also like where the biggest opportunities are. And as soon as the regulators come in, well, you know, they say that's to protect the people, but it comes at a very, very high cost. And typically they only come in when the big action is over, then they come in to regulate it. But it just means, for the most part, to take a big piece of the pie for them, and then to protect little investors. Usually means that they can't invest anymore. So that's what's happened with the stock markets and many other markets, and it will happen with crypto, but it hasn't happened yet. So that's a very positive thing, because the markets will be pumped for the most part by small investors, and not by the big ones. The big ones have very big opportunities to invest in many other markets, but the small investors not. But they still have in crypto. So that's very positive. So, but when it comes to valuation of cryptocurrencies, I think, for example, I make a special case for Bitcoin Cash, because Bitcoin Cash $10 billion is very high. But it has to be compared with Bitcoin. Whereas many other altcoins, you can't just compare with Bitcoin, because they are not Bitcoin. They're gonna have a much harder time to find adoption, like Monero or Ethereum, or like Ethereum is also a special case because it's the second one now. And so that one has a very good chance to pick up, like to become the next thing where the masses also go to, because it has established itself. But for the most part, then you have the top 10, you have Dash, Monero, and all these guys. Well, these are different brands than Bitcoin, and so they have to work much harder to attract people into their system. So, and that's true for all the other alts too. Like, they are different brands, and so it's much more difficult to get those people in. But with Bitcoin Cash, it's a different story. They are really like the same brand as Bitcoin, and the same architecture, the same story. And so for Bitcoin Cash, even though it's $10 billion, and if you compare to the amount of real transactions on network, is actually valued high. But still, I find it a very good investment because of what happens in Bitcoin. Like, it's really, it's just such a shame that it's so expensive per transaction, and it's so easy for Bitcoin to win over people. They get free marketing every day from everyone, the Bitcoin brand, and so it's so easy to get new users, and then it's $10 per transaction. Well, of course, nobody's going to use that for small transactions, and that's the big potential here. And so Bitcoin Cash is going to be very likely the big beneficiary of this. I used to think it was alts, and it has been alts. But now that Bitcoin Cash is on the scene, well, I think much of it will go to Bitcoin Cash, and not, it used to be Ethereum, and many alts profited from the situation. But now that Bitcoin Cash is here, I think there is actually a possibility that Bitcoin Cash will go up a lot, even more than the alts, even though it is valued already so high. I think this is a special story, and so I think that's a good investment. And then when it comes to alts, I like the privacy. I think privacy is super important. It's not offered by Bitcoin, not offered by Bitcoin Cash, not offered by Ethereum, and so and then it's actually, if you think about cryptocurrency, well, you know, why not use bank transfers? It's cheaper than cryptocurrency, and who cares that you have to wait a day? You put it in, and you know the next day it's arrived. So, and cash, actually, physical bills is also very nice for privacy. But the problem is, how do you pay people privately online? You can't do that with a bank transfer. You can't do it with cash because that's physical. So that's the USP, unique selling proposition of cryptocurrency, is the privacy online. You want to do private transaction online? You can only do it with cryptocurrency, only. So that's the first big market for cryptocurrency, and so that's the first place where it got real adoption. Bitcoin was in the dark markets, and also some gray markets like gambling, also totally outlawed in certain regions, and so people prefer also some privacy there for online transactions. So, but that's the first markets that are gonna adopt cryptocurrency. And so, if you want to invest wisely, you want to certainly invest in privacy coins, because very likely those will be the first to get real adoption. And so the players are not that much, but I don't know the small players. I haven't studied the market well, but the big players, Zcash and Monero, those are the two only ones, because Dash has left that market.
Exactly.
They say they have some. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you. Yeah, Dash has kind of gone for the more commercialized, mainstream market. No, yeah. Sorry, carry on.
Indeed, yeah. And then Zcash and Monero, I think both are interesting, but of course, Monero is following the same path as Bitcoin, so not scaling the first layer, allowing transaction fees to go up a lot, and that's just the wrong approach. You know, it's a business; you can't do that. But Zcash has taken the right approach to really to build a business model in the first layer, and so that people can be paid devs and marketing from the inflation. I think that's a great innovation that Dash brought, and that Zcash has copied, and very smart, and at the same time also offering private transactions. But there are some problems also with Zcash. The lead dev, Zuko, has said that he doesn't support dark markets, and so that he will work with law enforcement to get that like not on the Zcash system, and that for me is a contradiction, because of course it's the first market gonna adopt it. So that's a problem, and that's the positive thing of Monero, that they are not like that. But Monero has also big problems, and the biggest problem with Monero, in my opinion, is that they are like talking a lot of negative about their competition, about Dash, about Zcash, the same way that many Bitcoiners do about Bitcoin Cash. A lot of like it's like bullying, and I think that's and that's really negative. Like it's the same when you're in the market for some girls, and then you have a girl, she's talking crap about another girl that you know, like. That's not attractive, and it shows you're insecure, and probably I should switch to the other girl, because you don't know how to do things in life, you know. Right?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? And like you said, like you gotta treat your altcoins like how you would treat your woman, right? That was brilliant. But yeah, I agree. All this drama, all this like all this like tit for tat and stuff, to me, I think it's kind of like price manipulation. Like they're trying to pump one coin by dismissing another, and then when that coin pumps, everyone then takes their profit into the dumped coin that everyone hates, and then it's just repeating the same thing. It just seems like total price manipulation. Like this whole, like when Monero and Dash had that little rivalry, Monero would pump. Oh look, Dash is pumping now. Oh look, now Monero is pumping. It was just to and fro. And okay, cool. People are making money. Okay, people are making profit. I get it. I understand that. Great. But a lot of people don't. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people don't understand that. They don't understand the market manipulation, the blatant market manipulation that's going along. And like you said, it don't even look good when everyone's just kind of trolling everyone for the most stupidest reasons. It's not even in the name of innovation. It's just literally through greed and just trying. It's like a bunch of actors.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I don't like it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, sorry, Karen. I was gonna. Yeah, Karen.
No, yeah. So that's the situation. So privacy coins. I don't know many. Actually, I haven't studied the market. So, but I am a fan of Byteball because it addresses a lot of different problems. But one of them is privacy. It has a privacy coin. You have bytes and black bytes. And the value of the black bytes is only 10 million or so. It's ridiculous because a cryptocurrency, the value of bytes of black, you have Byteball. If you look on CoinMarketCap, the value is about 100 million or 150, something like that. But that's only the bytes that are valued there because the black bytes don't have an exchange yet, and so they are not valued on CoinMarketCap. But if you look at the value of the black bytes, and so because these are two different currencies. That one is only valued like about 5 to 10 million. So, but the problem with black bytes is not a real currency on sich because you need bytes to pay the transaction fee. You need to pay with bytes to send black bytes, and so basically it's built on top of bytes. So it's not a fully independent currency. No, it's basically just an asset on the Byteball network. But okay, that's of less importance, I think, because in the end, people just need to do private transactions, and they have choices. They can use not really Zcash yet, but they can use Monero, but it's very expensive per transaction. It's probably not going to improve. And so what are the other choices? There are not many to my knowledge, but Byteball has one with black bytes, so I think that has a chance to get adopted. And the way they have also created that currency is very, very smart. It's and it's also connected to Byteball. Why do I like Byteball? Of course, the valuation is important. If Byteball would be valued like IOTA today, over 1 billion, or like Dash, or like Monero, these are 1 billion coins. That's a different story. But it's not valued to 1 billion. It's valued to 100 million, and I think it has. Well, it could be the future. It could also fail because I was saying the same 2 years ago about NXT, and that didn't work out. I invest a lot in that, and certain things went wrong in the project, and okay, I had to leave it. I sell my investments and switch to another project. So it's another try of mine to invest in something big that is still small and that becomes big. That's the challenge as an investor. If you succeed in that, you make it. But it's very difficult to select those that become big and that are still small. So you have to go really to the fundamentals there, and then once you have invested, promote it hard.
Yeah,
but it's a great thing to do.
Yeah. I saw a question actually, because you mentioned IOTA, and Harvey Williams has got a question about similar about IOTA. He says, what does Marc think will happen with Tangle tech, such as Railblocks, you just mentioned Byteball, and also IOTA? I mean, what's your take on the Tangle?
Yeah, I love that technology. I think it's really very interesting because you don't have that many innovations in the blockchain world. Bitcoin came with proof of work coins, and then you had a lot of proof of work coins copies. Then you had the proof of stake coins. It's actually Peercoin, the first one, but it was like a mix of proof of work, proof of stake, and then NXT, the first one to be 100% proof of stake. But okay, and I really thought proof of stake was, and I still think, a great innovation, but it failed to catch on up until today. That's a pity, but okay, that's how it goes with new technologies. They have to be not just a little bit better, they have to be a lot better for people to, and it's not just about the tech, many other things need to be right also. It's like a car company. It's not just about the tech and producing an electrical car. That's very different, yeah, but it was only Tesla that succeeded in really bringing the electrical car, because they did a lot more than bringing new technology. They brought a new distribution system. They did a lot of things new that made it happen. And the same is true when you have bring a new technology in the blockchain world. You have to do a lot more than bring a new tech. And so, but the new tech is very important. And indeed, the big innovation of the Tangle is that, well, they don't save the whole history. So blockchain is like, okay, we save the history since the start of the blockchain. Somebody needs to save this whole history, and of course it becomes bigger. And this is a problem for scalability, because that's just difficult. Save, and it's also not very useful. Who cares about transactions that are 5 years old? Nobody. But the blockchain is built as such that it saves it all. And so then you have like they're trying to fight that with trying to cut back some information in the blockchain with sharding, but then still some people need to save the whole blockchain. It becomes difficult. And so what Tangle does is, it's basically saying like, well, we don't need that. We only need to save the lost transactions. That's a different approach, but it does allow for much more scalability while still having a peer-to-peer system with no servers. Because the moment you start with blockchain, like, okay, it's just some people gonna save it, it's basically a server system also. You become dependent of just certain players that are become centralized. And so to keep it really decentralized, well, if you just chop off the information you don't need, you can't really keep it decentralized. And so that's a very smart approach. Another thing is validating transactions, also a problem in proof of work and in proof of stake also, where you have certain people that need to validate the transactions and become the miners, and so you have a centralization problem there too. And the way Tangle, actually it's called DAG. Tangle is the name that IOTA has given it, but the general name of this technology is DAG, and don't ask me the full name because I'm very bad at that. But the DAG technology that's used by IOTA and by Byteball and some others too, is a very different way of validating transactions. It's not a certain player that does it, but it's basically if you do a transaction, then I send money to you. Well, then, and if you do also a transaction, then basically you have validated the previous transaction. Basically, transactions that follow up validate previous transactions. So that's a different way to validate transactions. I think also a great innovation. So in summary, yes, I think this is very, very interesting.
Yeah, I'm interested as well. I've heard some things about IOTA as well. I think it's only trading for like 30 cents as well. It's quite cheap, about 30 cents, 40 cents, around that, I think. So yeah, there's so many different coins or different platforms of innovation. But before we wrap this up, is there any closing thoughts, any closing insights you want to give to people before we wrap this great? This has been a great interview. This has really been fun, really informative.
Thanks so much, Luke. I'm thinking, I'm not sure what I can say. I can say something more about the price per coin. Of course, it's very important. Many people look at, hey, if it's cheap, the coin, then it can go up a lot. But you have to look at the value of a coin, the market cap, because every coin, if you create a lot of coins, then of course always the price per coin, it will be cheap. But that doesn't mean that the coin is valued cheaply, because you have to look at the total market cap. So for IOTA has created a lot of coins, and then of course the price per coin is cheap, but you have to look at the value of IOTA. Well, that's 1 billion. So that's not a small coin anymore. It's valued in my opinion, highly, because 2 years ago, the value of IOTA was not 1 billion, but 500,000 US dollars, $500,000. And that was the price of the ICO. You could invest, and only $500,000 was raised. And so since then, this has gone up every month with huge percentages. And so this, I think, in the world of cryptocurrency is a risk. I mean, if something has gone up a lot, that's risky. If it has gone down a lot, that's an opportunity. And of course, you have to, it's very important, real adoption. Like, I've been wrong about Ethereum the whole way up, because I thought it has gone up a lot already and it doesn't have real adoption. That was my story for a long time, and due to that, I missed out. So, the same happened with me with IOTA. I had a chance to invest in it in ICO. I didn't, and it was clearly a mistake. But now things have changed here. The market moves a lot. New information comes in, and so I think IOTA has been valued fully for what it has offered here. And I don't think, if you look at the valuation, that there is an opportunity here. But I could be wrong. I've been wrong about IOTA for so long. So
yeah, that's the thing, right? It is what it is. That's why on these videos, I always recommend people to just do their own research as well. That's the most important thing. But mate, Marc, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for your insights. Always a pleasure. I've left the link below. If anyone wants to check out Marc's videos and find out more, the link's below. Check it out. And remember, people, like, subscribe, share, comment, do all that stuff, and don't get scammed.
Hey, look, I just want to ask, did we go over all the questions here? Because I can't see the text here. Are there other questions that we could